Now, I try to treat people, try to take them as they are when I meet them. Regardless of what ethnic group or racial group or religious group or whatever, I try to just sort of treat people as they are, take them as they are, and don't think too much about the wider group from which they come from, But that doesn't mean that I ignore the fact that these people are here in Ireland now in significant numbers in recent times. And, because I'm aware of that fact and I know quite a lot about the facts about how they would have got to Ireland and whether it's legally or illegally, and even if it's legally, what the impacts are on Irish society and on other factors like wages and so on, and on the housing situation and all of that, it means I can't really be so... I'm not going to be inclined to befriend too many people of other groups, if you like. I mean, I have worked with people from different European countries and from outside Europe as well in the past, and gotten on fine with them generally, And people who've come here illegally, I would have less of an issue with generally, but I still, it's still a problem in the sense that, let's take the Polish side of things, okay? The Polish community in Ireland, which is considerable, which since 2004 it's huge. The amount that have come in from Poland and other Eastern European countries since 2004 is astronomical in terms of the scale. We're a small country here. We're less than 5 million people, and Poland's a massive country. With like not quite 10 times our population, but not too far off it. And even just walking around some of the places I live, like, I hear English, and the other major language I hear is Polish. And I might hear a little bit of Hindi, or maybe some of the African languages the odd time as well. But certainly after English, the one that you hear the most in a lot of these kind of commuter towns outside the cities is Polish, And these people are here legally because they've come via the EU, because they're in the EU, and they can come, as many as want can come, and all of the impacts that has. Some positive, but overall, I think we can say there's been more negative than positives, in terms of the overall impact, in terms of the gradual dampening of wages, the extra competition for jobs, the taking of jobs that Irish people would have had, the extra pressure on public services, on housing, the resultant increases in house prices and rents, the added pressure on the education system, on the medical system, etc., on the public transport network, all this kind of thing, on the roads. These are all considerations, and these are just people who've come legally. But as much as I generally get on well with the Poles, ultimately they don't really care, they don't really care about what the impact has been on Ireland of so many of them coming over here to a small country. It's very rare to come across a Polish person, even a nationalist, who will acknowledge the damaging effects of so many of them coming proportionately to such a small country as Ireland, and literally taking over certain towns, like the likes of Edgeworthstown in Longford, certain places in Kildare, like, Sallins, Newbridge, there's various other towns down the country as well, where there's really sizable Polish or other Eastern European communities there. And like I said, as pleasant as they are and as hardworking as they are, this has an effect. This has, an effect on the societal fabric, on the fact that, especially for older people, like, it must be particularly galling, I think, for some of the elderly people who have seen their towns be totally transformed, from when they were young and without any consent whatsoever. And if you're an older person in some of these towns, and you go into a shop or a cafe and you barely hear a word of English. Like, I mean, or you get in a bus or whatever, and it's mostly kind of Eastern European accents around you. That's really bad, you know. That's not right. That's simply not right. And I don't have anything against the Polish people generally, but it would be good if there was a bit more of an awareness of what the impact has been of so many coming over in the last 15 years. So, and that's even now without getting onto the people who have come through the back door. And I would be referring to many of the Africans that are here, you know, and then the people who've come through the language school system, you know, there'd be Brazilians and other nationalities who've come via that system. So, you know, these people have been okay with exploiting the Irish system, the Irish society, Irish people. You know, they've been okay with that. While technically it's not illegal what they've done, you know, they have certainly bent the rules. They have been okay with exploiting us. And, you know, you have this with the whole anchor baby situation, and direct provision and the whole asylum industry. And the fact that, you know, almost every African person in Ireland is either someone who came in via the whole anchor baby loophole, or someone who pretended to be an asylum seeker in order to try and get refugee status, or they are the sons or daughters of those people. You know, this is why I cannot be, I can never really be, I'm not really going to go out there and befriend these people, because I'm aware that either they or their parents came in here through the back door and were okay with exploiting Irish people. And that just completely does not sit right with me. I wouldn't do it to their countries, but they seem okay to do it with us. And there is a lot of people who've done things this way, you know. And then the whole thing with the Pakistanis and Indians and the taxi driver situation. Like, we don't need all these taxi drivers. We don't need so many Pakistani or Nigerian taxi drivers. Like, and again, there's the thing that, you know, they may have come here legally, who knows? But even if they did come here legally, they came via some sort of method which wasn't entirely above board, shall we say. Or they came in via a system which, like, you know, that whole thing with the employment permit scheme, which allows recruitment companies to basically poach people from countries outside of the EU. And that's been done to bring in nurses from the Philippines and doctors from Africa and the greater Middle East and the Indian subcontinent, and also to bring in Indian software workers en masse. I mean, you just want to see the average multinational corporation in tech or telecoms these days completely transformed, the amount of Indian workers, you know. So again, this is just, I know it's legal, but this is not the right way to enter a country, really. It's kind of a backhander way of coming into a country. I know Irish people have done this as well in America, and I'm not agreeing with that either. But it would just be nice if some of these people realized the impact that they have of so many of them coming over from huge countries into a tiny country like Ireland, and the demographic impact that has, and how it has transformed small towns, how it has transformed suburbs of cities, even villages, like, and there's no going back, you know, short of deportation, which realistically is probably not going to happen, certainly not in the short term anyway. There's no way these towns, these villages can ever be reclaimed, you know, can be made Irish again. And I'm not talking about 100% Irish, just bringing it back something like what they were, you know, 20 years ago. That's not too much to ask, but very few of the new arrivals into Ireland seem to have that awareness, that decency, that it's not right to do this. It's not right to come in en masse and demographically transform a country. That's all I'm saying, and I just wish more and more of the newcomers to Ireland had that decency, that awareness, that kind of respect for the country they've come to, that has been so good to them.